Okay, you guys, so today I'm not there to teach you, obviously, and we are going to move into Unit 9. So most of the stuff you're going to see today is all things that you have done in the past, probably in like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You can see by our learning target up here that we are going to focus on mean, median, mode, spreads, and standard deviation of 2 or more data sets with possible outliers. Okay, so all probably words that you've heard before. We're going to start with mean. We're just going to go through and talk about what they are and how you do them, and then we're going to calculate them ourselves, and I'm going to give you a chance to do one on your own. Okay, so mean is another word for average. Okay, and you get the average by adding all the values in the data set and divide by how many there are. Okay, so if you have 12 pieces of data, then you add up all 12, and then you take that total and divide it by 12, and it gives you the mean or the average of the data. Okay, the range is going to be the spread of the data. Okay, so this is talking about how much spread there is between the lowest and the highest values in your set, and you do this by subtracting the highest minus the lowest value. Okay. The next one we see here is median. Median means the middle, just like it does on the highway when you're driving. The median's the middle part. And in order to get the median, you have to put the values in order from least to greatest. And then literally pick the middle number. Now, if there happens to be two middles, like if there's an even amount of data values and there's not actually a true middle one, then you need to find the average of those two. So if two middles, find their mean or their average. So you would add the two together and divide by 2. Okay? Moving on to the mode. The mode is the number that occurs the most. Okay. Something important to know about the mode is that there could be more than one, or no mode at all. Okay, so it might be one, might be more than one, or there couldn't be one at all. And our last vocab word up here is outlier. Okay, an outlier is kind of like exactly like what it sounds. Kind of like something is an outcast or not included in the group. Okay, an outlier is a value that is either much higher or much lower than the other data value set in the set. Okay. And there may not be an outlier in every single set that you have either. All right. Okay, so let's use these. Go down here and let's try it out. Okay. So first one up, we're going to calculate the mean, median, mode, range, and any outliers from the data set. So I'm just going to write over here mean, median, so we know where our answers exactly are. Mode, range, and outlier. Okay, so let's start with the mean, which means we need to add up all of our data values in the set. Okay, so take a minute here and type them into your calculator. Okay, hopefully you got that these together equal 267. Okay, there are 8 values in the set, so we need to take this number and divide it by 8. And hopefully you are getting 33.375 on your calculator. So let's round to the tens place, and we're going to call the mean 33.4. Okay. The median, as we said above, is the middle number. All right. So in order to do that, we have to put these in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to start with 1, and I usually cross them off as I use them so I know they're gone. Then we have 23, 29, 36, 37, 42, 46, and 53. All right. Now, as I mentioned above, there's 8 values in this set, so there isn't a true middle. If you count, there's 3 on this side, and there's 3 on this side, so there's actually 2 that are in the middle. Now, this is pretty easy. If it's 36 and 37, the number between those two would be 36 and a half, right? If you don't have 2 numbers that are easy to do in your head, you would add them together, 36 plus 37, and then you would divide it by 2. Still going to get 36 and a half. Okay, so my median is 36.5. Okay, mode is a number that occurs the most, and in this data set, we don't have anything that occurs more than once. So we're going to keep the mode as no mode at all. Okay, the range is how spread out it is. So in order to get that, we have to start from the smallest to the biggest and subtract those. So 53 minus 1 gives you 52. And hopefully you're seeing that the outlier, or the one that doesn't really go with the rest in this group, is the number 1, right? All of these are kind of closer together. You got some 20s, you got some 30s, you got some 40s, and then a 50. So 1 would be the one that doesn't match. Okay? Now, when you have an outlier in your data, it can affect all of the types of measures of central tendency. So the mean, median, mode, range can all be affected by that outlier. If we were in class, we'd be talking about the outlier of all of our ages. And obviously that would be me. You guys would all be 14, 15, 16 years old. And then my age thrown in there at 42 would be much higher. So it would affect all of our data values because it would raise the numbers. So we're going to go through and we're going to do these again without the outlier involved. All right. And it's fairly simple because we've done all the work. We just have to take out the 1. So I'm going to do it again. Mean, median, mode, and range. We don't need to do outlier because we've already know that's what we're doing. Okay. So up top here, we had that this was our when we added them all up, right? So now I'm taking off the 1. So I've got 267 minus the 1 for our outlier gives me 266. And now we don't have 8 values, we have 7 of them. So 266 divided by 7 gives me 38. Okay, and you can already see there's been a change there. Our mean was at 33.4. Now it's raised to 38, which is better because it's more up here in the middle of our data. Okay. The other one was down here, which where not so many of the values are. Okay. The median, well, if we go back up again to this that we were just talking about, if 1 is not included, right, then we have 7 values. And if there's 7, then 37 is directly in the middle. So my median is 37. That didn't change quite as much, but that's because you're only shifting the numbers one space either direction. There's still no mode. That part didn't change. We didn't add any numbers. And the range is going to change quite a bit, if you can see. So the range is now from 53 to 23 since we took out the 1. So if I subtract those, I get 30. So our range was 52 and now it's at 30. So big difference there. Okay. So hopefully what you're noticing is we took out the 1 and it made all of our values except the mode lower than they should have been. Okay, because 1 is much lower than the rest of the data points. So in here, we want to say that the outlier affects the data if it is lower. It makes all our data lower. If higher, our values would be higher. You want all your values to be somewhere towards the middle, except for the range, of course. So if it's not, then you know that something is affecting that. Okay? Take a few minutes here, pause the video, and go do this one on your own. Okay? Calculate the mean, median, mode, range, and list any outliers from the data set. Okay? All right, so hopefully when you came back to this, mean, median, mode, and outlier. Okay. Left my key at school, so adding them all up here. I got 480. And then I'm going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 again. So divided by 8 gives me 60 as my median. Okay, I put them in order. You should have 47, 48, then 56 is twice. And you need to write it down twice so that it doesn't affect your mode or your median. Then we have 69, 72, and 75. Okay, so the middle that we're going to have here for our median is going to be these two in the middle. So again, it's right down in the middle here, which is split. So 56.5. Okay. Our mode that we have is a number that occurs the most, and 56 is the only one that occurs more than once. Okay. And there really isn't an outlier here. We've got 40s, we've got 50s, we've got 60s, and 70s. So no outlier here. Okay. Last part, I almost forgot, is the range. Okay. And the range would be 75 minus 47. So 75 minus 47 gives you 28. Okay, hopefully those are the same numbers that you got. So our last thing that we're going to talk about today is standard deviation. And we used to make all the algebra kids calculate this by hand, but it got a little out of control and too much work, and you don't really need to know that much of it for your EOC. So just kind of exposing you to this. Standard deviation tells us on average how far each point or value, however you want to say it, lies from the mean. So how far it is away from the mean, okay, the average. So the following here is Brenda's test scores that she got on her algebra tests throughout the year. You can see she's done pretty well. 3.8, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 3.4, and so forth. Okay, this one being the one that probably was affecting it the most, right? Your 0. So the standard deviation number describes the data by telling us how far it is away from the mean, okay? With the outlier here, all right, her score is 1.127. And the standard deviation without the outlier is 0.477. So the higher the standard deviation is, the further it is from the mean. Okay? The higher the standard deviation, the further it is from the mean. So like if we're talking about, you guys have probably all seen like the bell curve that you see for to show data. The middle here would be the mean. Okay? And then each section of this would be broken off. So if you're 0.477, you're going to be close in here to the mean. And if you're 1.127, you're going to be out here away from the mean. So that means your test score is either a lot lower or a lot higher than the actual mean. Okay? All right, you guys, that's it for 9-1. You can stop now and do your assignment over this, or you can watch the next video.